Imagine waking up somewhere you did not choose. A city you have never lived in. A country whose language you do not speak. And the first thing you see before you even understand where you are is a number on your phone that makes absolutely no sense. $1 billion. Not a notification you dismiss. Not a spam email. A real verified bank balance sitting in an account with your name on it in a luxury hotel room in Tokyo, Japan. Your heart is hammering. Your mind is doing the kind of calculations it was never designed to do. And then the second wave hits. You try to book a flight home. It does not work. You try again. Still nothing. Because there are conditions attached to this $1 billion that nobody told you upfront, and the most important one is this. You cannot leave Japan. You walk to the window. You press your hand against the cold glass. Below you Tokyo spreads to every horizon. Shinjuku, Shibuya, the Sumida River catching the first gold of dawn, Mount Fuji standing impossibly still in the distance. And you begin to understand the scale of what is about to happen. You have 7 days. $1 billion. And you are not allowed to leave this country until every single cent of it has been legally spent. Tokyo. The most expensive city on earth. Home to 13.9 million people. More Michelin-starred restaurants than any city in the world. An economy so sophisticated that simply navigating its business culture takes a lifetime to understand. And somehow all of this is now the arena in which $1 billion must disappear in 7 days. No gambling. No burning piles of cash for content. No offshore transfers. No loopholes. Everything that leaves the account must be traceable, legal and real. The passport stays on the table. The flight home does not exist. There is only one direction available. Forward. Into 7 of the most extraordinary days anyone could ever live. This is the plan. 7 days. 7 chapters. $1 billion. Spent inside Japan completely legally and in a way that leaves something behind worth leaving. The clock is running. Day 1 begins right now. Day 1. $80 million earmarked for real estate. The logic is simple. Real estate is the fastest legal way to move the most money in the shortest time. By 9 in the morning I am in the back of a black Mercedes moving through the glass towers of Minato Ward, Tokyo. A real estate agent in a perfectly pressed suit is waiting outside the first building. He bows. I step out. And I look up. 50 floors up. 200 square meters of pure Tokyo. Floor-to-ceiling glass on every wall showing Shinjuku, Shibuya, the Bay, Mount Fuji, and 8 million lights beginning to dim as morning comes in. Minimalist Japanese design. A single ikebana flower arrangement on a dark walnut table. A private infinity pool on the terrace. The price tag is $30 million. I sign the contract before lunch. The penthouse is mine before the first cup of matcha has cooled. Standing at the edge of the penthouse terrace 49 floors above the city, I hold a glass of water and look down at Tokyo in the afternoon light. This city is incomprehensibly large. Even from here, higher than most people in the city will ever stand, it still stretches far beyond what I can see. $30 million. One property. One signature. And somehow that feels like the easiest part of the week. Property 2 takes me to Kyoto. Not by taxi but by bullet train, because in Japan moving between cities is not a burden, it is a pleasure. The estate is in the Jun district. 400 years old. A private koi pond, stone lanterns, maple trees turning deep red and gold. A raked gravel garden that has been maintained daily for longer than most nations have existed. The price is $25 million. It is the cheapest $25 million I will ever spend. I sit at a low table in the main tatami room. The lawyer explains each document carefully in both Japanese and English. The red seal is applied. Outside the shoji screen I can see the koi moving slowly through the dark water of the pond. There is a quality of stillness in this room that I have never encountered in any other building anywhere in the world. I understand now why this estate has survived 4 centuries. Some places simply refuse to disappear. The Makiya townhouse is part of the same purchase. A fully restored traditional merchant home with ancient cedar beams, a hanging scroll of calligraphy above the fireplace, and shoji doors that slide open onto a moss garden. Walking through it is like walking through a time that still exists. Not preserved. Not recreated. Simply continuing. This is what $25 million looks like when it is measured in centuries rather than square meters. The third property is in Osaka. South of the city, directly on the bay. Contemporary Japanese architecture. Pure white concrete and glass, clean and precise. An infinity pool that faces the open water with nothing between the edge and the horizon. I see the sunset hit the ocean from the terrace and the decision is already made before the agent finishes his sentence. 25 million. Signed. Done. Osaka is officially home. I stand at the edge of the Osaka pool as the last light dies and the bay goes black and silver. The city comes alive below. I think about what it means to own three of the most remarkable properties in Japan and whether a person can actually inhabit three lives simultaneously. Day 1 is complete. $80 million. 3 cities. 3 buildings that will outlast everyone in the story by several hundred years. The contracts are signed, sealed and filed. The keys are in my hand. 3 of them on separate FOBs, each engraved with a kanji character I do not yet know how to read. Tomorrow I will learn. Tonight I sit in the Tokyo penthouse and watch the city from 50 floors up and begin planning the most ambitious business day of my life. We are just getting started. Day 2. $120 million. And today the strategy changes entirely. I am not buying things. I am building something. The boardroom is on the 38th floor of a Shibuya high-rise and 8 Japanese tech founders are already seated when I arrive. They have been waiting since 6:30. In Japan, punctuality is not a courtesy. It is a form of respect. I am 7 minutes early. They have been there since before dawn. The startup is working on AI-assisted logistics technology. Software that could reduce delivery times across Japan's rural prefectures by 40%. The engineering is extraordinary. The team is small. The funding gap is the only thing standing between this idea and the future. I close that gap with a $50 million seed investment. By midday the deal is done. By tomorrow morning they will hire 30 engineers they have been unable to afford. Not all of the money goes to tech. A ramen shop owner in Shinjuku has been at his counter for 43 years. His sons work in finance in Osaka. The recipe will die with him unless something changes. I offer him a franchise partnership. 15 locations across Japan, all run by trained staff using his original recipe, with him retaining full creative control and a royalty on every bowl. He stares at me for a long time. Then he shakes my hand so hard it actually hurts. The Fushimi Sake Brewery has been operating continuously since 1657. The cedar barrels are taller than I am and older than the concept of the United States. The master brewer explains that foreign developers have been circling the land for 2 years. I fund the brewery's expansion, legal protection and international distribution on the condition that not one element of the recipe, the process or the sourcing ever changes. Some things exist only once. You do not modernize them. You protect them. A young Japanese entrepreneur has been waiting 18 months for the right investor to take her seriously. She presents for 11 minutes. By minute 3 I have already made my decision. Her food tech platform connects rural Japanese farmers directly to Tokyo restaurants, cutting out 5 layers of middlemen and getting better money to the people who actually grow the food. $5 million. Partnership agreement signed. The idea is now real. That evening the Shibuya office has its name above the door. Lights are on. The team is inside. Something that did not exist 48 hours ago is now a company with funding, with offices, with people whose livelihoods depend on it. This is what investment actually means. Not just the transfer of money, but the transfer of possibility from one state to another. A master ceramicist in Kyoto has spent 60 years developing a high fire glaze technique that produces a color found nowhere else in the world. He has 3 students. None of them are good enough yet. I fund a heritage apprenticeship program, 5 students, 4 years full stipend and a global distribution agreement for his existing work. He is 78 years old. He deserves to spend the next decade making things, not worrying about money. Day 2 ends with a presentation to 200 Japanese business leaders about the new Japan Innovation Fund. A structured investment vehicle that will continue deploying capital into Japanese small business, traditional craft and emerging technology long after this week is over. $120 million deployed. Every single yen stays in Japan. Day 3. $90 million. And today is about something that balance sheets were never designed to measure. I arrive at a prestigious Tokyo auction house at 9 in the morning. The room is already full of serious money. Collectors, institutions, intermediaries. On the wall behind the auctioneer, a Meiji-era painting is displayed under a single spotlight. The bidding has not started. The room is already tense. A rare 18th century Hiroshige woodblock print comes up early in the auction. The opening bid is $700,000. I raise my paddle. Someone counters. I raise it again. The room goes quiet in the specific way rooms go quiet when they understand that the person still bidding is not going to stop. The gavel falls. It is mine. Rare cultural heritage now in the hands of someone who intends to share it, not lock it away. I visit a Tokyo anime studio that has been developing an original series concept for 3 years on almost no budget. The character designs are extraordinary. The story is unlike anything I have seen. The director is 29 years old and sleeping in the studio 4 nights a week because he cannot afford both rent and the project. I fund the full production. $20 million. With one condition. It premieres in Japan first. Art made here for here. In Kyoto, a 500-year-old Buddhist temple is deteriorating faster than it can be repaired. The craftsmen attempting the restoration are some of the last people in Japan trained in the original techniques. I fund the entire project. Gold leaf hand-carved timber structural reinforcement, 10 years of maintenance. Everything required to return it to exactly how it appeared in 1520. Some things are worth preserving at any cost. This is one of them. I walk the Fushimi Inari path at 5 in the morning. 10,000 vermilion torii gates placed one after another by donors over 3 centuries, each one rising into the mist of the mountain forest. No tourists at this hour. No noise except the wind through the cedar trees. And the extraordinary understanding that every gate was placed here by someone who wanted to leave something behind. That is precisely what this week is about. I attend a private No theater performance arranged through the cultural foundation I am establishing. No is one of the oldest theatrical art forms on earth. Over 600 years of continuous performance, the performer moves so slowly it appears that time itself has shifted speed. Every gesture carries the weight of centuries of refinement. I fund the theater's operating costs for 20 years. Some things deserve to exist even when they are not commercially viable. A museum conservator shows me a 200-year-old katana blade awaiting specialist restoration. The work requires a swordsmith who has spent 30 years mastering the original tempering technique. There are fewer than 20 such craftsmen left in Japan. I fund the full restoration without hesitation. Objects like this exist once in history. Once destroyed by neglect, they are gone forever. The cost of preservation is always less than the cost of loss. I stand before a 4-meter contemporary painting by a living Japanese artist whose work has never been shown internationally. It is staggering. I buy 3 works for the permanent collection of the cultural foundation I am establishing today. A dedicated space for Japanese contemporary art in Tokyo. An institution that will outlive the week, outlive the billion, and outlive me. The calligraphy master in Asakusa teaches me a single character. The kanji for beginning. It takes him 4 decades to be able to draw it the way he draws it. It takes me 4 attempts to produce something that does not embarrass us both. He nods slowly at my 4th attempt. In Japan I have learned a slow nod from a master is the highest possible praise. Day 3. $90 million spent on the things that make a civilization worth remembering. Day 4. $150 million. Today I am building a food empire. And it begins as everything important in Japan begins, with extraordinary patience and extraordinary precision. 6 in the morning. A Michelin 3-star restaurant not open to the public today. 1 chef. 1 counter. 8 courses beginning before the city outside has fully woken up. This meal is not breakfast. It is an argument about what food can be when it is treated as art. The first course arrives and I genuinely do not know how to respond. Translucent sashimi arranged with the precision of a jeweler. Edible flowers I have never encountered. A single dot of yuzu gel that tastes like distilled Japanese sunlight. The presentation is so precise, so considered that eating it feels almost disrespectful. I eat it anyway. It is the finest thing I have ever put in my mouth. I tell the chef this. He nods once. This is apparently sufficient. The acquisition conversation happens somewhere around the 4th course. By the 7th we have agreed terms. The chef will remain as head of kitchen with complete creative authority. Management transitions to my holding company. The restaurant continues exactly as it is because the only reason to own it is to ensure it continues exactly as it is. He presents me with a set of hand-forged Japanese chef's knives. I cannot cook. I do not care. They are the most beautiful objects I have ever received. That evening I am in Dotonbori, Osaka. The most alive street in Japan at night. Neon signs blazing every color, the canal reflecting 1,000 moving lights, the smell of takoyaki batter hitting hot oil, the sound of 30 conversations happening simultaneously. A vendor here has stood at this same spot for 31 years making the same perfect octopus balls. I fund him to open 5 more locations and build a proper brand. He does not believe me until I show him the signed agreement. Then his wife arrives. There are tears. The Uji tea plantation is one of the most visually remarkable places I have ever stood. Rolling hills of perfectly maintained bright green tea rows stretching further than I can see, with the valley of morning mist below and Mount Uji faint in the distance. This plantation has been in the same family for 8 generations. The problem is that Generation 9 has no interest in tea. The farm will be sold or abandoned within 5 years. Unless something changes. I make an offer to acquire the plantation at full market value with a formal agreement that the master farmer remains as permanent head of production. His methods unchanged, his knowledge protected, his income secured for life. The land stays Japanese. The process stays exactly as it has been for 200 years. The best green tea in the world continues to be grown in the only soil that can produce it. He agrees. We drink tea together in silence for a long time. Neither of us needs to say anything. A bowl of perfect tonkotsu ramen arrives in front of me at a restaurant in Fukuoka. Rich creamy broth built over 18 hours. Perfectly sliced chashu pork. A soft boiled marinated egg split to show the golden center, bamboo shoots, fresh scallions, a sheet of nori standing upright in the broth. I have been eating extraordinary food all day. This bowl, which costs $12, is the meal I will remember longest. I fund the national expansion of this restaurant immediately. 25 locations. Japan only. The recipe does not travel. Day 4 ends with me walking through a new restaurant space in Tokyo that will serve as the flagship for everything built this week. The designer and I choose the timber, the ceramic tableware, the lighting, temperature together. It will open in 4 months. $150 million spent on the thing Japan does better than anywhere else on earth. Feeding people in a way that makes them feel, however briefly, that the world is exactly as it should be. Day 5. $200 million. Today I am thinking about infrastructure. About how a country moves and what it means when it moves well. The Shinkansen. Japan's high-speed rail network. Arguably the greatest piece of human infrastructure ever constructed. Since 1964 it has carried 10 billion passengers. Its average delay is less than 1 minute per year. Not per trip. Per year. I am about to invest heavily in something that already works perfectly, because the most important thing you can do with perfection is protect it. I am allowed into the driver's cab. The track ahead is a single straight line of absolute precision extending to a perfect vanishing point. We are moving at 320 kilometers per hour. It feels slower than a taxi in Shinjuku. No vibration. No noise. Just velocity so smooth it registers as stillness. The engineering required to produce this experience is so extraordinary that even describing it feels inadequate. I stand there for 20 minutes and say almost nothing. I invest $100 million in Shinkansen infrastructure bonds, directly funding the extension of the high-speed network into regional prefectures that have been economically disconnected for decades. Towns in Tohoku. Villages in Shikoku. Communities that have watched opportunity move to the cities because the cities were reachable and they were not. A rail connection does not just move people. It moves futures. $100 million. The best return I will never see in my account. The super yacht is 60 meters of absolute precision. A private vessel with a helicopter pad, a tender bay, crew quarters and a main salon designed by a Japanese naval architect. It is anchored in Osaka Bay and the sunset is turning the water gold around it. I watch it from the dock for a long time before boarding. There is something both thrilling and slightly absurd about arriving at a private yacht in a chauffeured car. I board anyway. The absurdity passes quickly. Standing at the bow as the yacht moves through the bay, I understand something about scale that I had not understood before. The horizon is very far away. The ocean is indifferent to billion-dollar accounts and 7-day timelines. Out here the week's urgency softens into something quieter. You are still just one person standing at the front of a boat watching water move. The $1 billion is in an account somewhere behind you. The horizon is ahead. For a brief moment nothing else exists. The interior was designed without excess. Polished wood, clean horizontal lines, floor to ceiling glass looking out at the bay. Even at this scale Japanese design restraint asserts itself. I sit with the captain and plan a route through the Seto Inland Sea. Island hopping through one of the most beautiful and least visited waterways in the world, stopping at islands most people have never heard of. This yacht will be here for 7 days. We will use every hour of it. I fund a fleet of 10 hydrogen fuel cell buses for Kyoto. Clean silent vehicles that run on water and emit only clean air. The city's ancient streets have been choked with diesel for 70 years. Temples and wooden heritage buildings absorbing exhaust for decades. This changes that. Not dramatically. Not in a way that makes headlines. In the quiet, persistent way that actually matters. 10 buses, 400 daily passengers. 0 emissions. Every single day from this point forward. Day 5 ends in the back of a car moving through Shibuya at midnight. Neon lights bleeding through the rain on the window. $200 million moved in 12 hours. Infrastructure bonds, a super yacht charter, a hydrogen fleet, a private jet acquisition, and a cargo drone network being established in partnership with a logistics company funded yesterday. The city blurs past. Tomorrow is the most important day of the week. I stay awake for a long time. Day 6. $250 million. The biggest day. The most important one. I drive 4 hours north to Tohoku, the region that bore the weight of the 2011 earthquake and tsunami. The new children's hospital is partly funded by today's allocation. It is not finished yet, but the cherry blossom trees at the entrance are already planted. I chose them personally from a nursery in Kyoto. They will bloom every spring for 100 years. I visit a primary school in Miyagi Prefecture. The children are curious in the open, fearless way that children in good schools always are. One girl, perhaps 7 years old, shows me a drawing of a robot she designed in her exercise book. I crouch down to look at it properly. She explains the robot's function with complete seriousness and extraordinary precision. I tell her I believe she will build it. I mean it entirely. This is why the school funding exists. For the people who will do things the rest of us cannot yet imagine. The solar installation covers the entire south-facing hillside above the valley. 2,000 panels. Enough electricity for 400 homes. The community below has been paying premium prices for imported fuel since the 1960s. From the moment the system goes live, that ends. The panels will operate for 25 years. The return, measured not in money but in what money is actually for, is incalculable. I stand beside the engineering team as the system activates. The panels catch the morning light and the output meters begin to climb. In the village below, the lights come on. Not because the power just returned, but because the source of power has permanently changed. A small crowd of residents who drove up the hill to watch begins to applaud. I do not speak. There is nothing I could say that would add anything to this moment. Disaster relief is not glamorous. There are no ribbon cuttings and no press moments. It is modular housing being assembled by exhausted volunteers. It is food packages distributed to people who have lost everything. It is sitting with the local government coordinator and listening. Actually listening to what is needed rather than deciding what to give. $60 million. Every yen of it directed by the people who live here, not by me. 50 scholarships, full tuition accommodation, and 4 years of living allowance for Japanese students from rural prefectures who qualified academically for university but could not afford to attend. The building that houses the Scholarship Foundation offices is new, built to merge traditional Japanese lattice screens with contemporary glass. It will process applications long after this week is forgotten. It will change 50 lives every single year. Indefinitely. The ceremonial check is a formality. The funds transferred hours ago. But the hospital director holds it as though it carries a weight that numbers alone cannot explain. The press cameras flash. He bows. I bow. Later, away from the cameras, he takes my hand and holds it for a moment without speaking. In Japan, what is left unsaid is often the most important thing. I understand what he is saying. I nod. We bow once more. We part. A community food center in Osaka distributes 400 meals every evening to elderly residents who live alone. The volunteers, all unpaid, all local, have been running this operation with inadequate equipment and a budget that runs out every February. I fund 3 years of full operation, new kitchen equipment, refrigerated delivery, and a coordinator's salary. They can now serve 800 meals a night. The coordinator cries. The volunteers applaud. The meals go out on time. I plant a tree. A single cherry blossom sapling alongside school children and community members in a Kyoto public park, part of a city-wide reforestation initiative funded today. The children are muddy and delighted. The sapling is smaller than I expected. It will take 7 years to bloom properly. I will never see it in full flower. That is exactly the point. The best things you can do are the ones you plant for people you will never meet. Day 6. $250 million. The day that mattered most. Day 7. $110 million remaining. And tonight everything comes together. The Tokyo International Forum has been booked in its entirety. 500 guests invited. A charity gala unlike anything the city has hosted before. The red carpet is being unrolled as I arrive. Cherry blossom petals are being released from the roofline by a system of fans. The effect is exactly as extraordinary as I imagined it would be. I walk the carpet alone. No entourage. No publicist. The press cameras flash. I am not particularly comfortable with this part. But the gala requires a host and I am the one who made the phone call. Inside 500 guests. Artists, diplomats, entrepreneurs, chefs, craftspeople, athletes and philanthropists are assembling for the most expensive dinner Japan has seen this century. The entry tickets alone raised $20 million for disaster relief. The evening has not technically started yet. The ballroom took 4 days to prepare, 500 round tables each set with crystal glassware and hand-thrown ceramic plates made by the Kyoto ceramicist I funded on day 2. White orchid centerpieces. A sakura petal ceiling installation. Thousands of hand-folded paper flowers on invisible wire creating the effect of standing beneath a Japanese spring sky indoors. The stage is set. The orchestra is warming up. The chandeliers are at full power. It looks like a dream that someone spent an enormous amount of money making real. I stand at the top of the grand marble staircase and look down at 500 people assembled below. A week ago I woke up in a hotel room with $1 billion and no plan. Tonight I am looking at the result. Not of the money but of what the money made possible when it was pointed at the right things. The room is extraordinary. But the room is not what matters. What matters is everyone in it and what they are going to do when they leave. 12 drummers in white robes take the stage. The first strike lands on 12 drums simultaneously and the sound hits the chest before the brain registers it. Taiko is not performance. It is force and precision and 2,000 years of Japanese tradition compressed into a physical experience that no recording ever fully captures. 500 people who have attended extraordinary events in every capital city in the world go completely still. For 4 minutes nothing in the room exists except the drums. 500 glasses rise. 500 faces turn toward the stage. The chandeliers catch every crystal at once. Sakura petal confetti begins to fall from the ceiling pink and white against the gold of the room and for a moment the ballroom looks like the inside of a Japanese spring. I watch it from the side of the room. Some moments are better observed than participated in. This is one of them. I walk to the podium. The room settles immediately. I speak for 7 minutes. Not about the money but about Japan. About what a week inside this country taught me. About craftsmanship and patience and the particular Japanese genius for making things that last. About the ramen shop owner who shook my hand so hard it hurt. About the 7-year-old girl who designed a robot in her exercise book. About the calligraphy master who nodded once and made me feel briefly that I might be capable of something. I do not cry. It is close. The fireworks begin at midnight. Seen through the glass walls of the ballroom they burst gold and green and white over the bay reflected in the dark water below the Tokyo skyline silhouetted against each explosion. 500 people turn from their tables to watch. The sound arrives a second after the light. Nobody speaks. $1 billion was spent in 7 days. This is the last 8 seconds of it going up in the most beautiful fire I have ever seen. After the gala clears I find a door to a rooftop. I sit on the ledge with my tuxedo jacket off and my bow tie undone, legs over the edge, and I look at Tokyo for a long time. The city is indifferent to everything that happened this week. It was here before. It will be here after. That is not a sad thought. It is the most comforting thought I have had in 7 days. From up here Tokyo is not a city. It is a living organism. Lights pulsing along expressways like a nervous system, the skytree and the tower standing like twin anchors in the center of something vast and ancient and entirely alive. $1 billion moved through the city this week. The city does not notice. The city will outlast the memory of the money by several centuries. The people it reached. The ramen master, the engineers, the school children, the ceramicists, the scholars. They will remember. That is enough. The phone screen shows 0. A round clean unambiguous zero. I look at it for a moment. Then I place the phone face down on the surface beside me. $1 billion. 7 days. Spent legally, spent deliberately, spent in a way that leaves something real in the world. No gambling. No waste. No regret. The balance is zero. Everything else. The properties, the businesses, the art, the hospitals, the scholarships, the trees, the bowls of ramen, the taiko echo still in my chest. Everything else remains. I go back to Shibuya. Sunrise. The crossing is empty. No traffic, no crowds. Just the wide expanse of painted lines and the first gold of morning coming in between the buildings. I stand in the center and look directly into the camera. A week ago I stood here with nothing but a plan and a number too large to feel real. The plan is complete. The number is gone. I am still here. Japan is still here. Some things, the best things, are not measured in dollars.